Hello, folks. Welcome to another edition of Social Media News Live, or Creator News Live. What am I saying? I don't know where I'm at. Anyway, it's been a week. We missed last week because both Paul and I were in. I was in Podcast Movement. Then I went to CEX, and we're going to talk about that today because Paul spoke at CEX as well. Conor has been out gallivanting around. What have you been doing, Conor? What did you do last night? That was kind of crazy.
Halloween Horror Nights. So it is officially Halloween season here in Orlando, August 28th. So I went to Halloween Horror Nights at Universal. Paul's repping the Marauders map, Harry Potter, Roosevelt, and the Universal dad hat, I like to call that style cap, to show his appreciation of Universal. Halloween Horror Nights is awesome this year. There's a lot of great houses, but yeah, man, it was a late night. Some might say an early morning because that's how long I was there, but it was a ton of fun.
So if people don't know what Halloween Horror Nights are, can you just do a kind of a little brief overview? When you said houses, like people are like, what does that mean? So talk a little bit about that.
So it's probably the most premier Halloween event in the country. Universal Studios Parks has it both in LA at Hollywood and here in Orlando at their Orlando Park. The Orlando Park, so it's a specially ticketed event. It starts in the evening and runs until like 2 a.m. There are 10 haunted houses, haunted mazes. Mazes isn't a great term because you kind of get guided through it. Each one is a different theme. Each year they create 10 new brand new houses from the ground up. There's scare zones that you walk through where actors are there. There's entertainment. There's specialty food. It is just one big, awesome event. Even if you don't like getting overtly scared, I will say the stories that they tell, how they build these houses is truly remarkable and awesome. This year, Five Nights at Freddy's house, Jason house, WWE house, and then also other houses. Yeah, other houses that they just created totally from the ground up, their own stories and all of that. It's awesome.
So we've already got people chiming in today. We've got our friend Chris Stone from Casthead saying, how about artificially intelligent community? Yeah, because we're going to be talking about all that today. Why is that so small? There we go. Oh, too big. There we go. So Chris Stone, our friend over at Casthead, he's already coming in hot with the comments. We've also got Rich Graham saying, hey, I got to hang out with Rich in real life at Podcast Movement, so that was fun. Rich, thanks for stopping by again. And our pal Jim Fuse from Fusion Marketing saying AI News Live. Well, it kind of feels like that some days because there's a lot going on. We've got Fun in Key West saying hi, and Chris saying, I've always fancied myself as artificially unintelligent. And then Drunk Disney After Dark coming soon to Cinemax, hosted by the unsinkable Conor Brown, and merch coming soon. No, so
put that one behind a paywall for sure.
Yeah, exactly, behind a paywall. And then he's asking about your merch. Yeah, Paul he is like Mr. Roosevelt man, and I think are you an influencer now yet, Paul, for your Roosevelt shirts?
No, but they do have a new rewards program. So I'm able to actually get credits for referrals.
Oh, wow.
So paulgowder.com/shirts. There you go.
There you go. All right, as we get done with the commercials, we're going to have some more, but I'm going to go ahead and hit go on the podcast machine, and we will get started. Hello, folks. Welcome to Creator News Live. I'm Jeff C., and you're not.
And I'm Conor Brown, and this is the show that keeps you up to date on what's happening in the creator economy and so much more.
Have you ever wondered how to grow an email list that actually feels like a community? Maybe you're curious about what gets people to open, click, and stay connected with your content. Or maybe you've been looking for ways to blend some AI tools with authentic relationship building. If so, you are in the right place, because today we're excited to welcome our friend Paul Gowder back on the show, who's an expert in email marketing, and he's helped countless creators turn subscribers into loyal fans. He actually did that recently at CEX, so if you saw him there, he's an amazing speaker, so always check him out. And he's going to be sharing today with us practical strategies, fresh insights, and his best tips for making email the heartbeat of your community. So sit back, clear your schedule, clear your mind, and get ready for this week's episode of Creator News Live. Paul, how are you doing? Are you back to the real world yet? So I'm not.
I'm trying to make that adjustment. CEX was pretty awesome and great sessions, then going out afterwards with everybody and exploring Cleveland, seeing Shador at the Cleveland Browns
Yeah, that
game.
was fun.
It was a weekend. But now it's back to work. Got to get everything caught up. So yeah, I'm excited to dig into all the stuff we learned and talked about.
Yeah. So by the way, last time you were here, because we've been doing like theme songs for people, somebody said, why don't you have a song for Paul? So I have worked on a song. So this, before Conor reads your intro, I'm just going to go ahead and play the Paul Gowder intro song.
It's Paul Gowder, they say. He turns email into friends that stay. Builds your brand the inbox way. It's Paul Gowder today.
There we go. Paul Gowder, folks.
Love it. Love it. Sounds like a little something on Main Street USA.
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah. And I know you said people were asking for a theme song for Paul, but it was really just Paul who was asking for that theme song.
Pretty
We
much,
can reveal that secret here
that's good.
today. If you don't know who Paul is awesome. He's the owner and founder of powwows.com, which has been the leading online community celebrating Native American culture for the past 25 years. Having visited hundreds of powwows across North America, Paul has been able to capture those events and publish them to millions of views on his website and YouTube channel. Having experienced the trials and tribulations of running a successful online community for the past 25 years, Paul helps other entrepreneurs navigate the successes and pitfalls of building an online business through his public speaking and consulting services. Public speaking, like speaking at CEX, where I heard they put you on the keynote stage, which means, Paul, you can officially say I keynoted CEX.
Oh, so much stuff today. So we're going to jump into what we learned both at Podcast Movement and CEX. Kind of there's like two themes that a lot of people were talking about, a lot of discussion going on. But first, I want to do a shout out to our sponsors of the show, our friends over at Ecamm. You can find out more about them at ecamm.com/Jeff. But we have an amazing thing coming up. We actually have this video guide to social media. I am going to be teaching all next week for an hour every day at 11 a.m. Eastern. And we'll be talking about social media. You see the behind the scenes, how I create all the stuff that I do. A lot of cool stuff about AI. So it's going to be September 2 through the 5th. And you can actually find out more about it. Go jeffc.com/workshop. jeffc.com/workshop. It is totally free. And if you register, you will be able to get the replay. So make sure you guys go check that out. Share it with your friends. We've got, I think, about 700 people already signed up, and more are coming every day. So, yeah, we're excited about this one. So join us there with Ecamm all next week, except for Labor Day, of course. But would love to see you guys there. So, Conor, I'm expecting to see you in the comments. So,
Yes, sir. I'll add it to the calendar now, sir.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to dive into what we've learned at Podcast Movement. I know, and Conor he's deep in this. He's like a marketing guru as well. So this is going to be a fun talk as we get on. And Paul is like Mr. Community, especially with email. So there was a lot of talk throughout CEX and Podcast Movement. One of the things, Paul, I wanted to kind of dive into is like a lot of creators confuse like audience size with community strength. So what's the difference? Do you have when you have a successful community, do you have to have like one like powwows where you've got a gazillion people in there? What do you consider a community, and why does it matter for small businesses?
So I think your community can be, it's a community of any size. Lou Mangello says it all the time. If you had 10 people sitting in your living room listening to you, you would feel pretty happy with that size or audience, right? And they're going to be super engaged, and you're going to have that intimate feeling. So I don't think it's not so much about the size of the community. It really is, the engagement level, the feeling you create. So one of the things I want to say, and we kind of talked about this a little bit this weekend, is what is community? And I think there's levels to it, which relates to the size, right? So community to me is really a group of people who feels some type of connection, shared beliefs, and they have that bond together. Now, when you look at what a community is online, I think there is levels. So there are people that just feel connected to you and your content, and they may not interact with you. They may just be on your newsletter. They may just read. They may just like your post on Facebook, and that's okay. But then you have your other people, the next level is the people who are going to join your Facebook group or join your community. They're going to be posting in there. And then it goes from there. You've got your people that are just totally addicted and they're posting every day.
Right.
And then you have your advocates, right? Your super fans, the people that are sharing it, inviting others in, right? So I think when you're talking community, you have to make sure you're engaging at all those levels. Even the people that you never hear from are out there, and they still feel that bond and that connection to you and your topic, your content. So you have to make sure you're engaging them too. And that's what I love about email, because you can hit all of those levels and speak directly to your audience, no matter how they want to engage with you.
Great point. Conor?
Paul, what about, when we're talking about email marketing, how do you create a community behind that? I do email marketing professionally as well. And the one thing that I've been getting so upset with lately is people saying, oh, well, we need a newsletter. We need them to get the sign up for the newsletter. And then they just put together a newsletter that's just a regurgitation of any content, any links, any things they've posted in the previous week, when that's not building community, and it's honestly not very useful to the user. But you do such a good job of taking a one-to-many sort of broadcast style and really getting it to be a genuine community builder. So how do you think creators can take that from just sending an email to a list to sending an email that is building a community one-to-one at a time?
Chanel from Growth in Reverse keynoted this weekend, and she talked about this, and I think it's so important to keep this in the back of your mind, is that she's examined hundreds of newsletters and looked at all their growth hacks and how they have grown their audience and their engagement levels. And it all starts with killer content. And I think your newsletter has to be one of those pieces of killer content. Now, everything we write is not going to be like our most valuable piece of content, but you need to treat your newsletter as just as important as your next blog post or your next podcast. You have to write something that's really valuable. People ask me, how many emails can I send a week? Well, it's as long as you're writing a piece of valuable content, then you can put it out. Yeah, so many people writing newsletters that are just, I feel like they're just shouting at people, here's my newest podcast, here's my newest video, go download it, go watch it, without giving any reasons, without setting the stage for why it's important or why it would resonate. And you have to, I showed this weekend, I think every email needs to be personal, and you need to put your unique spin on it. If it's just a newsletter of, like Kit has the ability to just take your RSS feed and just automatically start sending newsletters. Please don't ever do that, right? It's because it's not personal. It's not crafted from you. So that's the first thing I would say, is make sure that your email is, one, providing value, and then that you're actually putting yourself in that email. It's not just, here are my latest 5 videos on TikTok, go watch them. You have to tell your audience why and actually be in the email.
So a little follow-up on that question, Paul, because I know a lot of people struggle with newsletter content. Like that's another, like you mentioned, podcasting, YouTube video, whatever, and they struggle because that's another channel that you have to create content for. And a lot of them just repurpose like a blog post, or they'll take their video and just run the transcript and send out as a newsletter. I'm assuming you say that's not the best practice. You need to create a specific piece of content for your email. Is that what you would tell people?
So, yeah, I think there's two kinds of newsletters here. There are people that are creating content just for their newsletter. And Jeff, your weekly newsletter is like that, right? It is content that you're only putting there. And I think that is a great way of doing it. If you are looking to repurpose, if people have heard me talk, they know I love my Throwback Thursday sequence, which is just, hey, here's an article we published on powells.com. You may not have seen it. Here it is. But at the beginning of that email, I always put why I think you would want to read it, why it's important, and my personal take on it. It's not just, here's an article, click on it now, please. It's putting that personal spin on it and showing up. Remember, you're talking to your audience directly. Don't just shout at the masses. Talk like you're talking one-on-one, like you're on a video, right? You're having an actual conversation, and that does come across in email.
Great point. The other thing I was going to ask real quick was, so in Podcast Movement, everybody's talking about community. CEX is the same way. So many people try to force community rather than letting it grow naturally. I'm not really sure why that happens. And what are some of the, when should you create a community, I guess? Because everybody's going to be talking about community. Everybody's talking about it at CEX and Podcast Movement. Sometimes it's not right to have a community. So what are your thoughts on that, Paul?
So I think you should be community first driven. And so community to me is not just necessarily creating a Facebook group, right? It's like I was saying earlier, you have to start addressing people from the beginning, whether it's on social media or in your newsletter, and talking to them like they are part of your community. So make them feel connected, make them feel like they are part of something bigger, and that will start growing your community, even if you don't have a place to send them. Even if it's just your newsletter or your TikTok or your Instagram story, if you treat them like they are already part of your group and you're talking to them because they're a member of your group, your collective, then it will start building. At some point, you will feel some critical mass and that they want a place to land, a Facebook group or something else. And that's when maybe you turn on the next phase of your community and address those people who want a place to join and they want a place to interact. But from the beginning, you have to treat them like they're already part of something bigger, and they will start feeling that. And then you can move them to another location.
Very cool. Okay, so Conor is back. Good deal. We had a little tech issue there, but we are back.
So what about, Paul, people that are starting? Because I think like community, definitely Rome wasn't built in a day, and community wasn't built in a day either, right? So for people not to get discouraged, right? When you're building a community, when you're trying to bring people in, when you're trying to get the replies and understand that, this is what you're building, what's one simple thing for someone that's just starting out that you think they can do this week to start turning their audience into an actual community?
Two things. One, in your email, please start using start actually talking from your perspective. Please don't try to talk like a brand or just let ChatGPT write your intro without any personal touch. But two, put something in the email that's easy for them to take part in. Put a trivia question in, put a poll in. Those are super low friction. I love asking questions in my email and trying to get people to reply. And I think that's the greatest metric of all, is how many replies you're getting to your emails. But that is hard for a new community and a new list to get that kind of response. So just put a poll in, right? Everybody loves voting on a poll. If Conor, are you a Universal Halloween Horror Nights fan or not? Would you be scared of haunted or not? Those are questions that everybody's going to want to answer, and they're going to want to see the results. So they're going to click on it. And again, once you start doing that kind of thing, they will start feeling a part of it. And in your next email, make sure you talk about, here's the results. Here's what we saw. Were you in the majority? Was this you? And then you can start relating, and they're going to feel like they're part of something.
Yeah, that's great. So I was actually heard last night, really late at night. I could hear Conor screaming from Texas. So I'm just saying, like, I know it was hard to do, but you did it for your fans and for your followers. I know that about you.
Jason is terrifying. He is terrifying. Typically, he targets campers, but he was targeting me.
Okay. There you go. So we have Katie Brinkley, who also spoke at Podcast Movement and CEX. And she, if you don't know her, she has created the 4-post strategy. And that's a perfect kind of segue into this question. So how do you balance creating content for reach, Paul? Like when you're trying to get new community members or people inside your channels, how do you balance like reach versus content for depth, which is kind of what you were talking about for the community? You're drawing them in, you're talking about yourself, you're sharing part of your life to bring those people in for community. So how do you balance those two? Because I know you actually have some posts specifically you do to get people into your kind of sphere of influence, and then you really target them with community. So what's the balance between those two different types of contents that you put out?
I think you need to be posting a ton of that first kind of level of content. If you look at any kind of sales funnels, they talk about your cold funnel, or your cold people out there. You're just posting to get them into your ecosystem. And I think you need to be posting a lot of that content. Any kind of thing that's going to get somebody to stop the scroll and whether like it or write a comment, that will get them in and they'll start seeing more of the content. That's the stuff you need to be putting out the most, especially when you're first starting out. Just trying to get people to relate to you in some way, and whether it's posting it behind the scenes or Conor having running from Jason last night, something like that people are going to identify with, and it's going to be mass appeal. Then you can start the other types of content, and of course that's where I think from there is where you start getting them into your newsletter, and using those first kind of pieces of content to either get them to reply or to click a link and maybe go to a landing page and join your newsletter. Those are the ones that are going to start getting them into your email funnel or whatever. And then you can start creating that second level of content where you're educating them on your topics and you're going a little more in depth. I mean, for me, that's the one I'm going to be posting the most. I'm going to post a lot of that kind of content and then get them in and send them into the email.
So I kind of a follow-up question for both of you email gurus. And Paul, you really, and Conor as well, really helped me with this, because a lot of people do not realize the importance, especially when we're talking about getting them into your email is a community. Like if you're doing it right, it's a community. You're talking to those people. But you really highlight the importance of that kind of welcome sequence and sequences and how important that is. And a lot of people don't do that. They're just blasting out like a newsletter, or almost like a press release, right? So I want you both to talk about the importance and maybe some things that people haven't thought about when they're creating their first sequence, right? Because that's what really changed things for me in the email marketing is I have like a really simple 3 to 5 email sequence. When people join my list, they see me at a conference speak, they take a picture of that QR code, and then they're entered for they get a free download, and then they're entered into my sequence, right? So what are some things from both of you that are super important about that very first sequence when people come, they click on that link, they want what you have, and you drop them into that? Paul, you can go first.
Okay. Yeah, I talked about this in my presentation this weekend. Please don't let the first impression of a new subscriber gets is to be that weekly broadcast, because it is going to be a longer email. Probably it's going to be, for me, like here's the latest things we've published. Here are the powwows that are upcoming. It's a big thing, and it's going to intimidate a new subscriber. I think when you put somebody in, whether you're attracting them in from a lead magnet. So let's say I always reference my what to expect at your first powwow email sequence. When they subscribe to that, I'm going to immediately deliver value. I'm not going to necessarily introduce myself. I'm going to, they wanted to know what to expect in their first powwow. So the first email they get is going to be, hey, I know this can be intimidating. There's a lot to do here, and you're going into something new. I'm going to walk you through it, and I'm going to take you through the steps. Because remember, when somebody lands on your page, whether it's from social media or Google search, they probably don't know who you are if they're new to you, right? They're just landing on a single piece of content. So you have to relate to them quickly. They don't care, who you are and what you do in your list, your resume, right? You can do that later. You have to provide them a value and then take them on that journey step by step. I see so much better conversions and retentions because I've walked people through this story. And by the time they get to the end of it, they're like, oh, okay, I get it. This guy, he's helping me. He's actually giving me the information I wanted. Then I can start asking them to click on more links, to buy products, to, subscribe to other pieces of our content or whatever. But you have to deliver the value and actually kind of prove yourself to them.
So real quick, before we go to Mr. Conor Brown answer on that, I want to ask the audience, what do you think is harder, like growing your following or keeping people engaged? So growing your following or keeping your people engaged, wherever you're watching, drop that down below wherever you're watching in the comments. Like, do you struggle with, growing that list or keeping people engaged? That's what I want to know. All right, Conor Brown, what do you think people, they forget about when they're creating their first email sequence?
Well, I think to Paul's point, you wouldn't go to a cocktail party, go up to a stranger and say, hey, do you want to buy my service? Like that wouldn't be your first thing that you say, because they'll write you off as a lunatic. It's like,
isn't that how we met?
Yeah, that is how we met actually. So that's actually unfortunate, but it worked out for me.
Yeah.
Do as I say, not as I do. I think one thing though is about showing what you're about to the person that just subscribed. And I mean, being yourself, right? showing the tone that is you, the content that is you, and the strategies or whatever that you're trying to offer. In that welcome series, the most important thing that can happen is somebody connects with you, right?
Mhm.
And don't get discouraged if they don't connect with you, because your email list should be sacred. It should have people on it that want to get your content. So that welcome sequence can also be a way to filter out people. Maybe they signed up just to get the freebie and they don't want to have anything else to do with you. That's fine. This is the time that they can exit. So don't be afraid of that. The other thing I would say about that welcome sequence, which Paul does so well, is we use email in our lives as what? A method of communications. Jeff sends me an email. What do? Reply, 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 because it's one-to-one, right? That's how we use email for. But somewhere along the way, we got it in our head that marketing emails shouldn't be replied to. In fact, most marketing emails say this inbox is not monitored. Do not reply to this email,
Right.
which is crazy.
Right.
We're taking away the one thing that email is actually there for. A communication, a two-channel communication back and forth. Ask for those replies. And then when they do that, like Paul does, set some time aside and reply back to them. That simple note that's really, really easy to do. That's how you build connection and community.
I think that is so spot on from both of you, because you want to write your emails in a way that it's not just a news thing. Like, I'm not just vomiting, here's what I'm doing, here's what I've done. You want to write in a conversational style that'll get people to reply. It's so cool. Like, I just did this talk at CEX about creating AI images, and I had this lady in my talk who joined my list, but she also has been sending me like her creations because I asked for it on stage, and so she's showing me her examples of the stuff she learned. And as a creator, that's just cool. Like, I enjoy having that conversation, that they have that back and forth. So you want to write in a style that kind of fosters that. Now, you can promote your services because we all got to make money and all that stuff, but writing in a way that really invites people to share their thoughts or share their creations or whatever, I think is super important. And I love Paul does that, the throwback stuff. He most always asks a question in his emails, so people will respond to him. So that also signals, right, Paul, that the email for the email service providers that, hey, this is a good email, a good address. We should keep sending this and putting it in front of these people.
Yeah, deliverability is so important. So you have to get some kind of interaction with your list, or Gmail and Yahoo and everybody else is going to stop delivering it. And I want to take a second. I see a lot of people saying keeping people engaged is
Right.
the thing they're struggling with in the comments. So like Conor said, figure out some way that you can relate to them. In your welcome sequence, maybe you have an email that asks a question that's not necessarily they have to reply, but a poll, right? And use that poll to then craft more content to that person. So if I'm a Disney travel agent, maybe my sequence is, hey, what are you interested in doing more? Are you looking for a Disney cruise, Disneyland, Disney World, right? And from that, I can then put them in another sequence that's going to deliver content on that and relate to them. And take every opportunity you can to tell some kind of personal story that's relatable. Like Conor said, you have to put yourself in there and find ways to relate. And if they're not engaged, prune aggressively and just get them off the list.
Ooh, that's good.
They're not your people, and it's okay.
Conor.
And I think the other important part there is something that I learned a long time ago is whatever medium you have, for the person that replies, there's 10 others or however many others that want to reply but just aren't repliers, right? So you have to give them other ways to engage. A poll is a great option to do that.
So we kind of touched on this before, but I wanted to thank you, Amy. So kind. She goes, shout out to Jeff's weekly emails, so good and fun and creative. So and if you guys want to join, of course, jeffc.com/news is a really great way to do that. But one of the things I like to do, and I don't know if you guys saw it today, but I like to put stuff that's just exclusive in my email that they really can't see or get anywhere else. And so what I've been doing is taking the thumbnails that we've been creating for using AI to create for the YouTube channel is then animating them. And the only place you can really see those is in the newsletter. And if you saw it today, it was AI just did it. And I talked about it in my talk, the visual marketing. Sometimes AI just takes it another direction, but it moved everybody. But then it like had Conor, I mean, Paul booped Conor on the face. It was just hilarious. And so I had to use it. So if you're not signed up for it, you need to go and do that. But did you see it, Conor?
I did, and I actually thought the first time I thought Paul was giving me a wet willy, but then it was on the cheek.
And it was just random, and I thought, golly, that is hilarious. I got to use that one. So fun stuff happens with AI. But you want to? My point is having something exclusive. Like I don't put it anywhere else. Like that's where it shows up, and I get a lot. Rich Graham even came up to me at Podcast Movement saying how much he loved those thumbnails that we do in the email. So thank you, Rich, for that. But anyway, just hilarious, the stuff you can do. Let's talk about AI in content creation. So it was really interesting, Podcast Movement and CEX. There is this line that people were talking about how to use AI to increase your workflow, creativity, whatever. But then there was this like hesitance, like, what are we going to do? How can we use it but not lose our humanity and not use, especially with community, not just dumping, just blathering on using AI stuff inside of your community, but using it as a tool. So, Paul, many solopreneurs feel intimidated by AI, but where should they realistically start without feeling overwhelmed? Like, how are you using it in your business?
I'm using it, to write my emails and to make them sound better. So I'm telling it, hey, here's the story I want to tell today. Here's the points I want to make sure I cover. Here's what I thought about the story. Here's my reaction. I'm putting all of that personal stuff in a list and then letting it write it better because sometimes it words it a lot better than I would have. Right. So I think it's okay to do that. Just don't lose your personality in it. Don't let it take over and become just like we've talked about already, a cold brand just shouting at your audience. So, I'm doing that. And I think ChatGPT is a great place for people to start with that kind of thing. There's advanced tools. And Jeff, we were talking about like Poppy and some of these others where you can start having it pull or what's the one?
Lex.page. I use it. I love it. Yeah.
Where it can take your other writing and start building a model off of that and use your words. Those are great. And I think everybody should get to that level. But from the beginning, just make sure that you're telling it, hey, here's my personal take on that. Here's how I want to insert myself in it, and just make sure it's continuing to write your stuff in it.
Yeah. A couple comments real quick. Linda goes, I was worried about Conor, so had to come here today because of the booping on the face. Yeah, thanks for that, Linda. But and Rich says, dude, it was a fantastic animated thumb today. Thank you. But here's a great question. So like Amy goes, my email goal is to get people to reply to my emails like Paul's emails get. So what would you tell somebody who is, maybe they've been doing email for like a year, but they're struggling with those replies. They're having people struggling getting that conversation, building the community on their email list. What would you tell somebody like Amy who's struggling with getting that engagement?
Try a trivia question, right? Try some kind of question and reward them, right? So have hey, I'm going to take all the right answers and give you a book or a sticker, something easy that you can send out. And maybe it's, I'm going to take the first 10 right answers or something, but give them some kind of incentive to reply and make it a trivia question, one that's fun and they can easily answer, but then also that maybe you can start learning from them and figure out where they're going. But I do trivia questions in a lot of my emails now. At the bottom, it's so the readers who know to read all the way to the bottom, they know they're going to get a little chance to win a sticker or some other kind of prize. And they, some of these folks are scrolling to the bottom and replying immediately, and then they'll go and read the email. And the second part of that is when you do get a reply, make sure that you engage with them. Make sure you write them back. One of the best emails I've gotten this year was from a mom who said that, her and her son read my emails, watch the videos, and I replied to them. And I don't even remember what I said in the first email, but I replied back and she wrote back and said, oh my God, we didn't think anybody actually read these emails. We just thought it was, right. an automation that was sending out. Of course, it is an email sequence automation.
Right.
But
right.
And she's like, oh my God, my son is so excited that you actually wrote back. And so from there, I was like, well, okay, if he's this excited, I sent them a sticker and a T-shirt, right. And wrote them a note. That they are going to be engaged for a long time now because I took the time to write them back. You don't have to go as far as like actually sending them something, but writing people back goes so far with them. So give them something easy to reply to and then engage them.
So I would say too, if you're struggling with ideas for, like, what do I ask my audience as a poll? That's where you could use ChatGPT. Like, tell ChatGPT who your audience is. If you're still struggling with an avatar, there's tools out there that'll help you do that. StoryBrand has a great, like, I think, free AI tool you can do. But go in there, and then you can even, like, have a competitor that you don't know and say, hey, this is kind of the same audience. Help me write poll questions for my email list. And that's a great way to use ChatGPT to come up with some ideas. Conor, how are you using AI for, creating content? You're doing the challenge right now. A lot of times when you're doing a daily thing like that, it can be a struggle of, like, what do I talk about? So how are you using AI to create content and build community?
It's all about organizing my thoughts because I feel like I'm both intimidated and energized by the idea of a blank page, right? I have so many ideas when it comes to content creation, but getting started is always the toughest part. So that's what I'm using ChatGPT in particular to help with these days. I'm saying, hey, this is something I want to create. Where should I start? How should I start? Or, hey, ChatGPT, I have an idea for this type of content. I'm going to make a short form video. I need to talk about all of these things. Can you give me the outline of the script? I always go off script, right? I'm never saying exactly what it's telling me, but it helps me organize the things in which order to do. Right now, a teaser so that I hold myself accountable. I'm creating a Halloween Horror Nights guide that I can give to people. You send me your email address, right? I give it to you. It's going to be very extensive. I opened up ChatGPT. I said, hey, here's what I need to talk about. I need to talk about the houses, the scare zones, the food. I need to talk about top tips, what you should do before you get there, all this stuff. Where should I start? It gave me an outline of what the content should look like. And now, later today, I'm going to go in and it's planned to ask me questions about each section. Like, hey, what about the houses? Not the horses, houses. How would you rank them? How would you rank those houses? Why did you like them? Hey, what about the top tips? What are some? So it's going to be engaging me. I have all this stuff up here, right? It's just helping me put it down on the paper.
Yeah. And another note, this is a kind of thing aside, but Katie Brinkley was there, and she had like this AI wearable, and it was recording the conference, and then it was taking all of that, putting it in a condensed notes, but also a mind map. So using stuff like you were saying to collect content can be a great time saver. I use Readwise. A guy even talked about it on the last final keynote at CEX, but I've been using it for years because I use Kindle. I highlight whatever I want. It goes into Readwise. Readwise puts it to my Notion database. I can use AI or search it inside of that database of all the content that I've liked in my book reading. So cool stuff like that. I think that's the kind of the best case to do. A lot of people are saying, like Fun in Key West, saying that's what I do. AI is such a great assistant. Paul, I want to know from your experience at CEX, what are some AI use cases that you think that actually are saving creators time right now? You mentioned ChatGPT, writing stuff, but you have any other ones that are good for like fostering community maybe, or helping people grow their list easier than before?
So one of the things I've started doing is using ChatGPT and Midjourney to create images. Now it's never going to be great at doing powwow images that they're so detailed, but right. I'm using it to create graphics that at least have some characteristics and some feel of our community on them, maybe a little bit of words. Again, I'm putting these kind of top of funnel things that people that may resonate with our audience will see and stop. Like I did one the other day about 10 charities we recommend. So I had, I think Midjourney create me an image with some Native American patterns and just the word give on top of it. And I knew that would cause people to stop the scroll, right? Mm-hmm. So those kind of things I'm finding really helpful. I am experimenting going deeper with ChatGPT and using some of the models that do a little more research to help me. Yeah, and plan out content, asking more questions about bigger projects that I want to do and have it helping me. I'm actually, the other day after one of the presentations at Lulu, Jeff, you and I talked about maybe holding each other accountable for some writing. And so I went in the other day and I said, hey, based on everything you know about, what are some topics? What are some possible things I could write about for this? And, that's not just doing your daily work and having it write your email, your today's blog post,
right?
But having those kind of long form conversations can really help you save time and give you better direction on where you want to go.
I think that's a great point. Here's a question I want the audience to answer as this is a thing I want to ask both Paul and Conor. So what excites you in the audience, watchers, viewers, replay viewers, whatever, what excites you most about AI? Is it saving time or new creative possibilities? So what excites you most about AI? Is it the saving time, like I'm able to create stuff faster, or is it the new creative possibilities? Like for me, being able to do these really cool retro images with my guests' faces on it, that's fun. And then animating it, that's even funner. That kind of stuff. Like I really want to know what you guys are using AI for, saving time or new creative possibilities. And Paul and Conor, I'll start with Conor first. Do you think AI is raising the bar for creativity or lowering it, making it too easy for us to produce this content?
I think for the creators that are going to stand out, it's raising the bar, right? I think for the faceless YouTube channels that might have a lot of subscribers, but it's fleeting. You probably won't notice if it leaves tomorrow, or all the AI, slop, right? That they're calling it on like TikTok and social media and stuff. It's the cream will always rise to the top when it comes to community. It might be a flash in the pan with all these, AI first creators that are just producing dozens and dozens of clips and content pieces a day. But to actually have a meaningful connection and create a community, it's helping us create better. It's helping others create more at a really, really low barrier. But the way that you're going to get better is by using this to be better.
Yeah, before we go to Paul, I want to pull up some questions here. Comments. Like Amy saying, great question. It's changed. I use it to be, it used to be saving time, but listening to your show, I'm now excited more about creative possibilities. Funny Key West says, both. I love the ability to have a sounding board to come up with new ideas and content, but in the end, it really does save me time, which has led me to be more available to my community. Very, very cool. And Jim Few says, I like it as an assistant, which saves me time. So, Paul, like, what do you think? Is it raising the bar for creativity, or is it lowering it by making it, like kind of that AI vomit that's going out there everywhere? What is your thoughts?
I think there's some of both, right? But like Conor said, if you're wanting to stand out, if you're wanting to stand out and stand around for the long haul, it's really going to raise the bar. There have been, over the years, if you look back at this marketing world we live in, there's always the newest trend that, whether it was hacking SEO, doing listicles to get super amounts of views, now it's the faceless YouTube and TikToks. It's people that there's websites out there that did 100 recipes, all AI driven, and they won at Google. Eventually, that content is either found out by the algorithms, or the audience just doesn't, at some point, just stops disengaging. You probably will make some money and have a bunch of views for a short term. But if you're wanting to build community and have a business that's going to stand out and stay around, this is going to help you really raise the bar and find more ways to engage, be present more for your audience. But it just depends on how you want to use it, right? There's nothing wrong with those folks that change their business model every 6 months and go after that. That's not what I'm in it for. That to me sounds insane.
Exhausting.
But there's a lot of people doing that and making good money, but that's not how I'm using it, right?
Right. So we have another great comment from Linda. She goes, new possibilities and deep thought challenges to make sure what I put out is really grounded in my community and merged with my creativity. And I was thinking about this too, because, like right now it's cool. I'm retro graphics with my guest faces on it. Right. That's cool. Pretty soon that's going to be really easy. Like Meta just partnered, I read, with Midjourney. So you're going to be able to make Midjourney quality images really, really soon within Meta, just by typing a prompt, and it's going to make stuff like I make, right? So I'm going to have to constantly be raising the bar as I show like kind of tutorials on how to do this and what I'm doing, and it stands out. Well, then the bar is raised. Everybody can do it. So I've got to figure out the next thing to be creative with, right? Like, so, okay, really cool thumbnails. Okay, now I'm going to make them animate. Okay, pretty soon everybody's going to be able to animate. Now I've got to figure out something else to do on top of that. So it's challenging, but it's very exciting too, because it is pushing. Because if you're a creator, you're always trying to do something that will stand out in the feed. Like, and same way with your emails, Conor, and I mean, your emails, Paul and Conor, your challenges and their videos that you're doing, short form content, right? Like, you're doing something right now that most creators won't do, like do this content every day for a certain amount of days, which is a hard lift, right? So your next one's going to have to be harder because, it just keeps going up, which can be a little like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm a giant gerbil in one of those machines. Yeah, a hamster wheel. But it's also very fun and exciting to learn new stuff because it's moving so fast. So what do you guys think? And I'm going to start with you, Paul. Where do you think creators should not rely on AI, and what's still left best for us puny humans?
So I've tested, and this is a challenge, Jeff, we talked about it before the show and up in Cleveland. One of my struggles is managing my email. I love the fact that I'm getting lots of replies, and I've tested some tools lately to help me triage email, to answer email. Oh, I did not like that at all. I did not feel like I was in control. I did not feel like it was really doing the way I would have done it. So I'm not sure those tools are there yet to actually do the responses. Same thing with, I've played with some tools that will respond to all your Facebook comments. Sure, it's going to help you and it's going to answer the questions, but they just feel cold. I've had some replies, with my experiments I was doing on Facebook. I had some people say, "Oh my God, stop replying! You bot, you suck." I mean, there were some
Right.
harsh words too, but because people could tell that it was an automated response, that it wasn't somebody actually answering the question. So the human part of this is still the thing that it can't do. It can help you, and it can get you, maybe it can help you figure out what to say, but it's the process of you still making that human touch, I think, is not quite there.
Conor, what about you?
I say never sacrifice tone for convenience. So you have a unique tone, whatever that might be. Whatever stories and anecdotes you say, those are the only things that are truly applicable to you that AI can't do. And that's how you're made, more relatable to your audience and to your community. So along the same lines of what Paul is saying, you have to constantly weigh, will this automation help save me time, but will it also sacrifice the tone and the connections that I've already made? So that's where I would say, I think, yeah, it's really easy to churn out stuff very quickly. But you can also do it in other ways. Paul's talking about replying to emails and to comments. You can do that in your tone using something like, a text expander. Like, you have the same style of things set up so you can have a bunch of different options and you can comment that way in your tone. It's not just, consistently an AI sort of thing. So always focus on the tone and who you are.
So I want to be clear, because Paul, when you talked about having somebody manage your emails, you're just having them fill out all the noise where you can actually use that time to reply to the people personally. You're not thinking, it's not going to be a boilerplate thing that you're going to send off. Some of
the tools that I was experimenting with did that, and it started doing drafts of all the email replies for me.
Oh, gotcha.
And I just did not like and maybe if I spent, more time with it, maybe I could have gotten it to a little more of my tone. It just didn't feel right for me. So I got rid of those tools. And I do want to respond to Rich Graham's comment here. You want to pull that up, Jeff?
Yeah.
Look, I get it. My inbox is a mess, and I'm looking to actually get human help with my inbox. I know it's overwhelming, but two things. One, when somebody replies, that is them offering their time and offering to actually engage with you in a one-on-one conversation. And if we're in the relationship business, that is the ultimate relationship we can have, is that one-on-one. But two, I said it earlier, it's going to help your deliverability. If you show these email platforms that people actually hit the reply button when you send an email, they're going to continue to deliver your emails, and it knows that it's not spam, and that sends the signal back to them. So I get it. It is overwhelming. Trust me, being away at CEX, my inbox right now is a complete mess.
I bet.
And oh my God, I cannot get caught up. And the fact that we're going down to Florida for Halloween Horror Nights in a week really makes me anxious, because it's just going to fill up even more. But it is worth it to have those conversations and those relationships.
Yeah. Real quick, what if you guys the comment that Rich made was, I'm not sold on getting replies. That's the last thing I need is more email in my email box. Yeah. So, but the cool thing is, like, Rich and I, we talk a lot actually in the replies of my emails. Like, he'll say something about a nice thumbnail, or he's actually sent me resources that he thought would be interesting to me. So I think, building those relationships with those people in your email list is key. And one of my favorite things is getting those replies back from those people. So one of the things I wanted to ask the audience as we kind of start wrapping up the show is, what is your biggest fear about AI and content creation? Is it losing being authentic or falling behind? Is it, okay, so what's more important, being authentic or falling behind with all the changes that AI has? I'd love to know your answer. And let's go on to the third question really quick. And by the way, as we're going along, I love talking with all these folks. I love that Ecamm sponsors the show, but don't forget about the amazing video guide to social media and AI coming up next week after Labor Day, September 2nd through the 5th. You can find out more about that at jeffc.com/workshop. It's going to be a live training, so you'll be able to ask questions. I'll be able to do some things for you on the fly. So jeffc.com/workshop. Thanks for Ecamm for partnering with that one. Make sure you sign up so you can get access to all of the replays. All right. This last section, where AI and community meet. We've talked about AI, people are scared of it. It can help us out kind of with some time-saving things. But what do you think, Paul? You kind of mentioned some ways that you're using it. But as more and more of this AI stuff comes out, I think that it's going to drive a need and a want for communities even more. Like knowing that Facebook's not going to be filtering out when I put something in my community that they'll never see. Like if I have an email, we know it's going out to who I said it's going to go out. They have the choice to open it. Even like a community platform like Circle, like it's great because it's in there. I can see everything that's posted. I can read through the posts. So how do you think creators can use AI to serve their communities better, just not churn out content?
It's a great question. So if I think about the way my business has evolved, my greatest email series is What to Expect at Your First Powwow. I have others with, how to find a powwow near you. All of those were built out of user need and user questions. It took me a long time to recognize that those were needs, and my users had to beat me over the head before I knew, I should probably write something about that, right? So what I would suggest is use it to help you find out where your gaps are, what content you do need to create, have those long form conversations with it. As you start getting questions back from your readers, whether it's comments on social media or email replies, start feeding some of those into AI and start asking, hey, what am I missing here? What else can I do to serve my audience? Is there another piece of content I could create? Is there, an article here? Is there an email here? Is there an ebook? What does my audience need? It will find patterns, obviously quicker than I did, because
right.
I missed these for years. So it will help you identify those patterns and those gaps. And I love the idea of figuring those kind of things out. And I have been feeding some in as we start on powwows.com. We're starting to do a little bit broader topics, as like environmental and nature, that kind of thing. And so now I'm looking at that. Hey, where can we fill in those gaps with content on the website in our email to serve the people who are responding to that kind of content?
I love that. Conor, what about you? I mean, I know you do a lot of marketing stuff, a lot of SEO, a lot of emails yourself. What do you see, in that same kind of question that I asked Paul?
Yeah, one big thing I think is along how Paul answered this is right now what's getting surfaced a lot in SEO and what's getting surfaced in generative, search and AI overviews is forums, whether it be a Reddit forum or whether it be a website that hosts their own forum. for, guess what, a community to come and ask questions and get answers. I think there's so much valuable information in there. There's so much valuable questions, and there's so many valuable content pieces that are hiding in those forums. People are asking questions already about the services and the products and the things that you can do. If you can find them and explore through the internet, all right, what is being asked, and how can I put myself in that place? Sometimes your community isn't going to come right out and ask it, but you can find other similar communities who are asking these questions. You can create content for that. And it's like your community thinks that you are reading their mind, and you are. So I'll ask AI a lot, like, hey, what are people asking about this on this topic? What are they unsure of about this? And what's confusing them about this topic? And it's great. It's a treasure trove. They will pull in actual, hey, from this subreddit, this user said this. And all of a sudden, you have a great place to start creating new content with.
So I want to, the guys, especially listen on the podcast, Conor is a real person. Even though he said treasure trove, which I know is an AI response a lot of times, he's a real person. Like if you you said treasure trove, but I just want like, he's not AI. He's a real person. And that's the thing. Like you can't use M dashes anymore. Like, AI.
It's insane. It's like we're in this M dash free world where we just delete them out now. I have been talking to my chat a lot lately, so some of its sayings might be rubbing.
Yeah, it's you needed some new friends. But so this is some great comments here I want to pull up from. So Laura Davidson, who I got to hang out with at Podcast Movement. She's awesome. She did a cool thing about microphones and showing off some of the company Shure's mics that she works for. So she goes, the biggest fear equals too much information, which leads to overwhelm. Yeah, that's a real thing. Like, especially with AI, because new stuff comes out every week. So my thing is just pick your lane. My thing is like AI image generation. That's what I like to go for. So it's interesting. I'm not on Instagram very often. Abby takes care of that, my daughter, just because I don't have time. So Jim says, being authentic is more important. We are in a circle that is in the know. Many others haven't even started. This is so true, Jim. This is a great point. Like, we think everybody as creators knows exactly the same amount of things as we do, and they don't. Like, if you would go to your church groups or PTAs or whatever, and you tell them what you're doing with ChatGPT now, their minds would explode. Like, we're a select nerdy group, right? Like, that we talk about this stuff. So.
But also, I think along those lines, it's important to be like, just because you said it once doesn't mean every single person heard it and understood it. Right. Keep saying the things that you know.
And Abby says, kind of going back to what Conor was saying, I think that small businesses can go into subreddits and forums or use AI to gather the info and find all the pain points people have with big brands and respond to all of that stuff like a ninja. Yeah, so that is very true. The thing that I like to do it for is, like what Paul was saying, is finding those gaps that people haven't been asked a question yet or you haven't covered. I love to use for doing interviews is going, if I'm getting somebody who I haven't had on before, is go back, and a lot of them are YouTubers or been on YouTube, and find the last 5 episodes they've done, get the transcript. I drop that into ChatGPT and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing a show about this, but I don't want to ask the questions they've always been asked before. Help me come up with new ones. And it's great because a lot of times, and Conor, you know this, the guests will come on and go, man, no one's ever asked me that. Like, and that's what you want when you're doing interviews. So very, very cool. Everybody's going, oh, it's Abby in the comments. Yes. My daughter actually does watch my show every once in a while. She hears me way too much. So I'm, thank goodness she's here. She must be bored. Hope the power isn't out at her place. Anyway, let us wrap up. This has been amazing. Thank you guys so much for all your comments in the chat right now, because that's what makes it so fun. But Paul Gowder, what's going on with you in the world of paulgowder.com?
Oh, so much. First, hey, everybody's repping their shirts, right? Thanks, Laura, for being here.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, please, if you're here's all my call to actions, right? If you're looking to go to a powwow and you want to go, they're open to the public, powwows.com/powwow101. If you want to have a shirt like these crazy shirts I wear, paulgowder.com/shirts. And I just opened a new community. It's a free community for content creators and entrepreneurs. I love the way that we made connections at conferences, those hallway talks, and that's what I created it for. So onthewaycommunity.com.
Very, very cool. And by the way, we have
Unsinkable Conor Brown, they cry. He'll find the route no wave can deny. Through storms and squalls, he holds his ground. All hail the name of Conor Brown.
Conor Brown.
Bow down. I have my shore showing it off here for Laura. You can head over to vacationkingdoms.com and you can follow me at Vacation Kingdoms across the social medias. It's spooky season. We got a lot of Halloween Horror Nights content. So you can follow along with all that fun stuff.
Very, very cool. And thank you to our friends Ecamm. You can find out more about them at ecamm.com/Jeff. And don't forget the amazing Video Creators Guide to Social Media happening most of next week, Tuesday through Friday. Actually, we'll do the final show here live with you guys. So September 2nd through the 5th. You can find out more at jeffc.com/workshop. That's jeffc.com/workshop. And with that, thank you so much to Laura, to Linda and Abby and Amy and Jim and Chris, everybody who showed up today. Thank you guys so much for joining in. This has been an amazing show. Thank you for Paul and Conor as always. And with that, we'll see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.